Hello traders and investors, welcome to the week that was by Zerodha Varsity, where we bring you up to speed with what's happening in the markets this week, and that too under 5 minutes, so let's begin. In this episode, we are going to talk about the long-term capital gain tax on real estate, then we will discuss a few quarterly results, then we will talk about the RBI's monetary policy, then we will discuss that why there was a global selling in the indices, and lastly we'll talk about some important facts around Olympics. So let's start with the Indian markets, and first we're going to talk about the long-term capital gain tax on real estate. So like we have new tax regime and old tax regime when we file our taxes, something very similar is going to happen in the long-term capital gain tax for real estate as well. So before budget, we actually were paying the long-term capital gain tax according to 20% with indexation benefit. But after budget, it was 12.5%, but the indexation benefit was gone. A lot of real estate investors felt that their tax outlay was increased. And that is when government thought that we have to do something about it, and they came up with the choice for the real estate investor. Now the choice is that the investors who have bought their property or real estate before the budget announcement, they can choose to file their taxes according to the old tax regime, which is 20% with indexation benefit, or the new regime, which is 12.5%. But one thing to note here is that if you are buying the property after budget 2024, you do not have a choice. You automatically form into the new regime and you will pay the taxes according to 12.5%. Having said that, there is something also I want to tell you that in the upcoming week, there are two IPOs whose listing is being scheduled, that is Ola Electric and First Cry. Now let's talk about some quarterly results, starting up with Marico, which is the maker of Parachute and Saffola oils. For them, the revenue increased by 7% and the volume growth was by 4%, which means the price for the company is increasing, so is the volume, but not at the same pace at which the inflation is growing. Talking about the net profit for the company, that increased by 12% on YOY basis because of the effective lower tax rates. But the stock was down by 6% because of the unrest in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh contributes to 10% of the revenue for the company. Next, we are going to talk about Bharti Airtel, for whom the revenue increased by 3% and their net profit was nearly flat. Now 56% of the revenue comes from the Indian markets, and the ARPU increased to 211 from 200 last year. Now if you're wondering what ARPU is average revenue per user. So they take all the revenue that the company has generated, they divide it by the total number of users that they have, and the number that comes, the higher it is, the better it is for the company, because it indicates that the company is earning more per user. Nonetheless, the stock was down by 1.5%. Lastly, we are going to talk about TVS Motors. For them, the revenue was up by 15% on YOY basis. 14% growth was seen in their vehicle sales and 21% growth was seen in their financial services. Now, financial services growth indicates that a lot of people are taking loan in order to buy two-wheelers, and the stock was up by 3.7%. Now, amid all the central bank action that is happening globally, RBI has retained its repo rate at 6.5% on Thursday, August 8th. Now, let's talk about what was happening in the global markets and why were they crashing down. So there are a bunch of things that were happening. To start with, the job growth in US is slowing down and their unemployment level has increased to 4.3%. Talking about the tech companies' results that came out this week, they were weak or decent than what was expected out of them. A lot of companies are actually focusing on AI. To start with, Amazon has done a capex of $30 billion in the first half of 2024, and they plan to increase their investment in the second half. Microsoft and Google are also planning to follow the same footsteps. But the thing is that if these companies are doing a lot of capex, which means that the margins might shrink, and that is why people are dumping these big tech stocks. Having said that, if you remember, in the previous episode, we talked about how Japan have been raising their interest rate and US on the other hand is cutting down their interest rates. And due to this reason, the yen-dollar currency traders are actually continuing to close down their positions. Japan had earlier hinted that they are going to have more interest rate hikes, but now they are planning to slow down, seeing the uncertainty in the market, and this was the reason the markets revived on Wednesday. But the situation still seems volatile. Now let's talk about Olympics, where the organizers are charging whopping $3.3 billion from the media company, which is roughly around 28,000 crores, to broadcast these games. And these media rights have become a source of major revenue stream for these organizers. On that note, let's congratulate our medal winners and wish the best of luck to all our players as they prepare for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. That's a wrap for this week. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.